Hi, my name is Benjamin Britton. I'm an artist living in Athens, Georgia, and welcome to my studio. My studio right now is the hallway, the entryway to my house, and I've been working here for about a year, making paintings. You can see I have a setup here. I lean the painting against the wall, and I have a couple of reference photos I'm working with for these large shapes. This is how I start a painting. And you can also see that at the beginning of the painting, I make these drawings of kind of like little holes or portals in the surface of the painting, and I cover them with masking tape, cut them out, and that's something I do at the very end of the painting. After painting on them for a long time, I peel the masking tape off like a sticker, and then go ahead and paint in like a little image within an image. There we go.
Hi, Ben. Thanks so much for talking to me today. I'm so curious what you're working on right now.
Oh, well, thanks for coming over to visiting the studio. Right now I'm working on one big painting that's actually made up of 5 different panels. And when they're all put together, when they're all put together, the painting is going to be probably about 2.5 meters tall by 10 meters wide.
Wow, that's pretty big. That's like the size of the side of a building.
Yeah, each one takes me about a couple months to make, and altogether I've been working on it for about a year now.
Oh, wow, very impressive. Well, that definitely brings me to my next question. I'm curious what kind of materials you use and what kind of tools you use to make these paintings.
Well, I use kind of, classic paint stuff. I use acrylic paint that washes up with water. I use oil paint, and in all kinds of colors. Oil paint comes in jars, and acrylic paint comes in jars and tubes. I use sort of traditional brushes, larger house painting brushes, and also I like to use these knives that are used for applying like joint compound or mud to wall boards and different kinds of construction purposes. They give you a really straight line, and if you use them this way, kind of smooth them out against the paint, they make the paint really smooth on the surface. And I've been thinking a lot about surface lately. A lot of my ideas kind of come from the landscape and from nature, I guess, and I think that texture is a really good way to think about different kinds of natural environments. And when I'm painting, I try to lift a little bit of a color, take a color out of context, out of a landscape, and maybe a texture, and make it into my own shape. And you can kind of see behind me all the different kind of abstract ways that those colors and textures sort of play out in an image. I also sometimes use this airbrush or paint spray gun, and I can put whatever kind of acrylic paint I want in there, and then it comes out like a spray paint. What else? Oh, also use masking tape in order to get these really hard edges, and I use an X-Acto knife to cut out the shapes so that I can make curves or different kinds of more complicated shapes.
Interesting. So it seems like you really actually build these in some ways, less than painting them.
There's a lot of different stages and layers to the paintings, and I like a painting to have a lot of information, a lot of fun places to go, a lot of different kinds of angles and ways to cruise through the painting, and sort of different speeds that you go when you look at it. Basically, I want my paintings to make people feel like they have supervision.
Oh, very interesting. Hey, so I'm curious what you think about the idea or theme of islands.
Oh yeah, islands. Well, I think a lot about the coast and the coastal environment. My paintings are inspired by ecology and also our idea of ecology as people, or how we think about it, which is what word we usually call that a landscape. And I'm really inspired by kind of moments of profound beauty in the environment, in the landscape. So I guess coastal places have always been a really source of inspiration for me. And if I'm in a coastal sites and I'm seeking them out, a lot of times I'm on an island. Like, an island is definitely part of that. And so I think a lot about it that way. But then also, in my paintings, and you'll see this in the one that I have at Ballinglen, there are these kind of images within the image that sort of float on the surface, almost like there's an illusion of them being kind of carved out by some kind of, I don't know, like process of erosion, like a canyon, or maybe like it's a wormhole, it's kind of gotten eaten out, and you can kind of go back in the painting, and then there's a little picture. It's a lot of times another landscape or something like that. And in a way, those kind of ideas or those images are like floating islands in the painting. They make a kind of archipelago of different moments, and the whole painting represents like a period of time or a place in time, like a kind of, that contains both past moments and present moments and future moments. And that, for me, is it's like an image or an experience that represents or it's a painting that represents what that whole experience was for me. And so that's what the paintings are about, kind of like how where we are right now is always a combination of where we were, where we are, and where we're going.
Fascinating. It sounds like you're connecting memory and time to being kind of like a series of islands, a series of moments in our lives.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
That's really amazing. Thanks so much for taking a minute to talk to us today.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, bye.
Thanks for visiting.
You can see, got a palette, a couple of places to mix paint. I like to mix up a lot of paint before I get started, always. Really just check out the differences between the colors. It's a nice way to warm up. Use photo references for color. Just pictures I've taken along the way. Sometimes they're sort of more of a landscape, other times kind of more human-made kind of scene. Definitely always looking for an interesting interaction between the conditions of weather and landscape, built environment. Looking for shapes and edges, different kinds of textures, colors, structures, windows, spaces, things that I can bring out and maybe make them a little bit less nameable, but so that they just kind of spark your memory of where you've been. Here's how those windows, or those little portals or wormholes, look like when they're finished. They'll each get a little bit of an image that you can see. Some waterfalls. A scene from a swamp. A bend in the river. Book I was reading. A little bit of a breakfast. A spider. Another waterfall.